Hola a todos and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alberson and today we're going to do part 2 of things that shock me about Barcelona. I did a part 1, if you haven't seen it. I would say this is the more controversial one, but the other one gives a bit more intro into my background and why some of these things may have shocked me. If you're interested, I will link it up here or in the description. And I thought you might also be bored of my couch, so I decided to come to beautiful Port Vale to do the introduction. Don't worry, I didn't do the whole video here. That would be way too awkward for me. Anyway, let's get on with it. So the first thing that I really noticed in Barcelona was the informal economies. So Barcelona is obviously a big international city, but they still exist, which I found so strange when I first moved here. So for example, if you're on Barceloneta, especially in the summer, you know, you'll see people selling the towels, you know, the guys selling the towels on the side of the beach. I have these guys called lateros, and they kind of just walk around offering to sell you cans of beer. That's the main thing they sell, but they'll just be like walking along the beach and yelling, cerveza, agua. They always seem to have like some kind of like really low quality beer with them. And this isn't necessarily like informal economy. I'm just surprised that it happens in this way in Barcelona. So in Andalusia we had the knife truck that would drive through the town. In Cantabria we had a different one. I can't remember what he did, but he would have these like, ah. And here they have guys literally walking down the streets. You need to replace your gas, and I just found that so adorable. The next thing that I noticed in Barcelona is the number of police that you see. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. I think in my entire life combined up until this year, I have never seen more police. So if you counted the number of police I've ever seen in my entire life and compared it to the 9 months that I've been in Barcelona, there would have been more police sightings in Barcelona. Here you have the Urbana, the Mossos, the Guardia Civil. You also see the riot police, and I can't remember what the ones on the port are called. I guess they're probably like part of the local police, but they have like their port thing on. Any time of day, I can guarantee that you could spot them. It's quite intense. So the next thing that I really noticed is that no one laughs at you when you make a mistake in Spanish here, and it's such a relief. I don't have any social anxiety about speaking Spanish here, and it's actually kind of more extreme considering that their native tongue is actually Catalan. It's not Spanish. And I haven't felt any tension like in Barcelona or even in Catalunya in general for not speaking Catalan. I mean, I know some words and I use some greetings in Catalan, but I don't speak Catalan. And everyone kind of told me that that was going to be an issue, or that people would say things about that. And a few times when we were in Catalunya and we were traveling, I would apologize like, oh sorry, we don't speak any Catalan. And people were so polite about it. No one was ever rude about it at all, which obviously was kind of the same experience which I had in Basque country. The only bad thing I would say is that sometimes here I make a mistake that I know is a mistake, and the person understands me perfectly, so then it doesn't give me the opportunity to correct myself, whereas in Cantabria people didn't laugh at me very often. No, not really. It's mostly an Andalusian thing. But I would always have the opportunity to correct my Spanish, and then when you correct yourself you actually tend to get a bit better. So now I feel like I'm like stagnating a bit because I'm not correcting myself because people are understanding me too well. But it's still nice to not be laughed at. And I really genuinely know that Spanish people, when they laugh, they don't necessarily mean it to be offensive in other parts of Spain, but it does make it really hard when you're learning. I still don't think Barcelona is the place to learn Spanish from scratch, because I think you would get away with speaking English way too much and you would just get into bad habits, because I see so many people going into shops, and people here at the moment live here and just speaking in English, and I find that really strange. But also I just think if you want to learn Spanish, don't make this your first point of call. The next point is diversity. It just exists here. Like, it's the first time in Spain that I have felt like I'm in a really international place. And that's all I have to say on that. Oh yeah, the next thing that I really noticed when I was here was, again, the fashion changed. Okay, every part of Spain has its own little like fashion hub. So Sevillanos are really distinctive and very easy to pick out. People from, like, for example, Cantabria, maybe not so distinctive, but Santander, well, they've got a definite style in Santander, and there are a lot of fashion rules to follow in Santander. And actually in Andalusia as well, there's a lot of fashion rules. Barcelona, throw the rules out. You can wear whatever you want, however you want, and no one gives a... Literally, no one cares whatsoever. And I would say the overarching theme of fashion in Barcelona is relaxed. Fashion and the style here is just so much more like Sydney, just more relaxed, looser jeans, white t-shirts, very cool style, but really you can get away with anything here, from very dressed up to very casual. Definitely a lot less pijo. It's a lot less caballero. The next thing that I noticed was homelessness. There's a lot of homeless people in Barcelona, and that's probably the biggest negative culture shock that I have experienced since I've been here. People are very nice to them, definitely, and I know there's a lot of systems set up and in place for them, but it's definitely something I really noticed because you don't really see it anywhere else in Spain. Maybe Madrid, but I haven't spent that much time there. But you do not see it like in the north, and you do not see it really in Seville, and I really have noticed it a lot. The last shock that I kind of had when I moved here was, so everywhere else in Spain that I've lived, I've always felt really aware of the fact that I'm in Spain all the time. And it's not because they all feel like typically Spanish or anything. Like Andalusia definitely has some more of those stereotypical Spanish vibes going on. Cantabria is totally different and isn't stereotypically Spanish at all in the way that we think about it. But it does have its own like sense, and it always feels different, and I never felt like maybe I was, rarely, sometimes maybe if I smelled like gum trees or something, I felt like I was in Australia, but never when I was in like an urban centre or around people. I always felt very aware of the fact that I was in Spain. In Barcelona, I would say particularly in Eixample, sometimes it doesn't really feel like that Catalan. Some parts of it just feel very like anywhere in the world to me. Not in necessarily a bad way, just in a big international city way. There's some streets when I'm walking up them, I could be in Melbourne, and I wouldn't, there's nothing really like that jumps out to say, hey, you're here. And when I always really notice it like when I go up the coast, or when I've gone further into Catalunya in English?
Catalonia.
Further out of the city or into like Poble Sec. Like Poble Sec for me is one of those areas that I then again feel like it feels a lot more local, and when you get kind of a little bit out of that like real center area, you hear more Catalan being spoken. But there's just a few different areas in the city, and I would say areas that I have to walk through a lot because of my work, that don't feel particularly like I'm living abroad. And I find that weird. So that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video. That is by no means all of the culture shocks I've had in Barcelona. Every time I go to edit, I think of something else. Maybe in the future I will do an updated version of some other things. But yeah, they're the main things I wanted to talk about today. If you had culture shocks somewhere else or in Barcelona, I would love to hear them in the comments below, or even reverse culture shocks. If you enjoyed this video, go check out my part 1. That's my dog in the background. If you enjoyed this video, go back and watch part 1 and subscribe and give me a like. It really helps my channel grow and gives me motivation to do more of these. Anyway, besos, adios, ciao, adios. By the way, Barcelona is such a loud city. You don't notice it when you're out all the time, but then you come out to do something where you kind of need a quiet space and you're like, oh my god, it's so loud. It's a public holiday as well, but you know. He's like, stop ruining my fun.